Brother made my life hell and got my wife pregnant. I used to think my brother and I were inseparable, blood thicker than water, and all that. But that illusion shattered the day I found out he'd not only betrayed me in the worst way possible, but destroyed my life in ways I never thought possible. And now, after everything he's done, he has the audacity to ask me for help. Here's the kicker: our parents disowned him, and I was left with their $2 million inheritance. But trust me, this isn't the happy ending you might think. Let me start from the beginning. Jake and I grew up in what most people would call an ideal family. Our parents worked hard to give us everything, and while I always appreciated it, Jake seemed to take it for granted. He was the golden child, charming, confident, and the kind of person who could talk his way out of anything. Meanwhile, I was the responsible one, the quieter one. I kept my head down and worked hard. It wasn't that I resented him, at least, not back then, but it always felt like he could get away with anything, while I had to work twice as hard to prove myself. As we got older, the gap between us widened. Jake's charm started to feel manipulative. He'd borrow money from me and conveniently forget to pay it back. He always had some excuse or sob story, and I, like an idiot, kept giving in. My parents never saw this side of him, though, to them, Jake could do no wrong. Things took a darker turn when Jake got into trouble with gambling. He racked up debts, and when our parents found out, they bailed him out. I remember the tension at the dinner table that night. My dad said, "This is the last time, Jake," but I knew it wouldn't be. Jake always found a way to drag someone down with him. Fast forward a few years, I had built a steady life for myself. I had a good job, a house, and a wife I adored, Emily. She was my rock, the one person who saw me for who I was and loved me unconditionally. I thought Jake had finally turned his life around. He had been keeping his distance, which I thought was a good thing. Little did I know, he wasn't staying away out of respect, he was scheming. One day, everything came crashing down. Emily and I had been trying to start a family, but things hadn't been easy. That stress, combined with work, had me distracted. Jake took advantage of that. I came home early one afternoon and found him in my house with my wife. At first, I couldn't process what I was seeing. The betrayal cut deeper than I could have imagined. Emily tried to explain, saying it was a mistake, that she was lonely and Jake had manipulated her. But none of it mattered. In that moment, my world fell apart. I cut ties with both of them. Emily moved out, and Jake disappeared for a while. My parents were furious when they found out. For the first time, they saw Jake for who he really was. They disowned him completely. "You're not our son anymore," my father told him. It was the only time I'd ever seen my dad cry. Not long after, our parents passed away in a car accident. They were left everything to me: the house, their savings, and a $2 million inheritance. Jake got nothing. I thought that chapter of my life was closed, but I was wrong. One night, I got a call from Jake. I almost didn't answer, but curiosity got the better of me. He sounded desperate, broken. "I need your help," he said. "I've lost everything." Apparently, Jake had burned every bridge he had. His gambling debts had caught up to him, and now he was on the run. He begged me to lend him some money, just enough to get out of trouble. "I'll pay you back," he promised, but we both knew that wasn't true. For a moment, I considered it. Despite everything, he was still my brother. But then I thought about everything he'd taken from me: my trust, my marriage, my peace of mind. Helping him would mean letting him back into my life, and I wasn't sure I could survive that. I told Jake I needed time to think, and he hung up, sounding defeated. That was 2 weeks ago. Since then, I've heard nothing. Part of me wonders if I made the right choice, but another part feels relieved. If you were in my shoes, what would you do? Would you save him, or would you let him face the consequences of his actions?